I know we're technically the YA word nerds, but I'm thinking I'm going to break the rules a little bit here today. I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. Even though most of the books I read are definitely YA, a lot of my all-time favorites are still adult books, although I personally think a lot of them kind of straddle that line. Even though they're marketed towards adults, they share a lot of the same themes as young adult books, and I really love them. It should probably tell you something that when I was going through my bookcase to try to figure out which books to talk about today, I had to go back and put some back on the shelf because I had way too many. Now, back in high school, when I was technically a young adult, I was reading a lot of adult books, and those books have kind of stayed with me, and recently I've been trying to rediscover that category, I guess, even though adult is such a huge, broad spectrum of books, and get into some books marketed more towards people that are technically my age, although I hate to admit it. Don't get me wrong, my heart still belongs to YA, but in case you're looking to mix it up a little bit, here are some of my recommendations for adult books. First up is a book I just read for the first time this month, but it seemed like a pretty good bet for you guys, because that is Landline by Rainbow Rowell, who we here at the WordNerds love unconditionally. So if you already love her YA stuff, it's a pretty safe bet you're going to like her adult books. This one is a really cool story about a woman who is a TV writer, which I think is pretty cool, but her relationship isn't going really well and she's having trouble balancing career and her marriage, and then she gets the chance to talk to her husband in the past using a magical landline, and things from there get really interesting. It's a great character-driven piece and highly recommended. Now, the rest of these books have been on my bookcases for a very, very long time, and I've read all of them at least twice, in some cases a few more times than that over the years. So first up is The Fairy Godmother by Mercedes Lackey. This is in the 500 Kingdoms series. They're all kind of standalones within the same universe, in that there are 500 kingdoms, and a lot of people are kind of compelled to fall into fairy tale patterns. So this one is obviously about a fairy godmother who decides to kind of do her own thing. So definitely recommended if you like new spins on fairy tale stories. Next up, we have Moon Called by Patricia Briggs. I've actually been rereading this series recently. I've just started with this one, and I'm going to jump to book 2, probably this month or next. But I love this series so much. It is about a car mechanic named Mercy, who is also a coyote shifter, and she has a lot of interactions with werewolves. The world building here is so cool. The characters are great, and the writing is just fantastic. I keep coming back to this series again and again. Even though it's not YA, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to love it. Then we've got Stray by Rachel Vincent. Not everyone I've talked to has loved this series quite as much as I do, although I know it has a lot of fans, but I've read this book a lot, and all of the other 5 books in this series a lot, so it's fair to say I like them. The characters are essentially panther shifters in a world where females are very, very rare, so the main character, Faith, kind of has to fight her way through the girls need to be protected stereotype, and she kicks butt, and there are great characters. She's got such fantastic brothers who I love so much. The family dynamic in this series is great, and there's really cool political element to it as well. So definitely recommended. And finally, we have this monster tome. It is the Black Jewels Trilogy by Anne Bishop, and this was my absolute favorite series. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I've read these books so many times. They're definitely not for everyone. There are some very, very, very dark themes in these books, but the world building is fantastic. The main character is never a point of view character, which is really very cool, and there are so many different kinds of magical elements weaved into this world. It's unlike anything else I've ever read, and the writing is dark and beautiful, and the whole series is wonderful. So if you're at all interested in dark fantasy, the Black Jewels Trilogy by Anne Bishop, I cannot recommend this enough. But that's it for me. If you guys have any favorite adult books, I'd love to hear them, because I'm trying to weave in a few more adult titles into my weekly reading routine, but we'll see how well that actually goes. So if you've got recommendations, put them in the comments down below, and I will see you on Sunday for our next live chat.